Welcome back to the show, everybody. This is the Upper Tier Podcast. It's the weekend. The Premier League action is back, and we're going to give you some of our quick fire Premier League predictions. If you could subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification button, and drop a like on the video, we would really appreciate it. So let's get into this Premier League match week 12. Some really interesting fixtures in this one, some with a lot of jeopardy and stuff like that. We always say after that last international break, that's when the season really starts to take hold and where teams start to move into position, jockeying for European places and title races and even relegation battles there, I say, and stuff like that. So we kick it off first of all anyway. The 12:30 game tomorrow, Burnley versus Chelsea. Chelsea doing really, really well at the moment. Maresca very much so has steadied the ship there and stuff. Could potentially even be in a title race because they have Arsenal the next week as well on the back of two tough games, I think, in the Champions League. I think Chelsea have Barcelona midweek, and I think Arsenal have Bayern Munich. So tough European week coming up as well, but you might see a lot of rotation there and stuff like that as well. But let's get into this one, Burnley versus Chelsea. I can only see Chelsea here running out winners. I think they'll probably have too much of them. I know Burnley tough to play at home and stuff like that, and Scotty Parker left them well drilled, but there's just too much quality. You see, yes, the ball loudly hopping. There was talk of Cole Palmer coming back, but it looks like he's broke a toe or something like that. Dana was saying or injured himself at home, so maybe he's going to be delayed in coming back as well. I'm sure Maresca got very disappointed as well, but I still think Chelsea will just have too much. I'm going to go Chelsea 3-0. Clean sheet as well. Next up then, the 3 o'clocks, Bournemouth versus West Ham. Nuno starting to take hold at West Ham there, as Darren said last night on the Thursday show. Real feels of what he was doing at Forest and stuff like that. Has definitely steadied the ship and has them on a much better footing. Looked like the form team down there in that bottom 4 or 5 as well. So I fancy West Ham to get something here, but I think it'll be a draw. Bournemouth have been a little bit shaky as of late as well. So I reckon maybe a 2-2 draw. Brighton versus Brentford. The question is which Brighton will show up. Brighton this season have been a little bit Jekyll and Hyde at times. When you've expected them to show up, they just haven't. Brentford, Keith Andrews doing a stellar job at Brentford at the moment. Something that has shocked us all. We knew from a technical point of view as a coach he'd be very, very good, but in terms of a manager and that management skills and stuff like that as well, that was maybe what was in doubt, but it looks like he's doing a phenomenal job there at the moment. Brentford doing really, really well. Expect this to be an interesting game with plenty of goals in it as well. I'm going to go 3-2 Brighton, and I think Brighton will just shade it on the basis of the likes of the form of Danny Welbeck and stuff like that. But certainly it's going to be a really interesting game. Both teams, I think, have had a number of players away in international duty, Fairwood, obviously. So see how that runs out tomorrow. But I think just Brighton shade at 3-2. Fulham versus Sunderland. The Cats arriving at the Cottage. Fulham has been one of those teams this season for me has been a little bit disappointing. I expected them to kick on this season. Marco Silva there with another year under his belt and stuff. Played some scintillating football last year as well. And this year they've just been a little bit indifferent. Sunderland, on the other hand, have blown the bag out there, made huge investment, brought in some very clever signings, including Granit Xhaka, that bit of experience going in there with some of the youth they've brought in. I think Sunderland might just shade this 2-1. I think with Fulham and stuff like that and all, I think at times they play really, really nice football, and at times they look really, really busy. But just a little bit at times, just up front, that output just isn't there. So I think Sunderland will just shade this 2-1. Liverpool versus Nottingham Forest, big game for ourselves. And don't forget to check out the preview when it goes up this evening, folks, as well. I see Liverpool winning this 3-1, but I don't think it's going to. I don't think the scoreline will replicate potentially it being an easy game. I think it'll be a tough game. I think Sean Joyce will have the boys well drilled. I think it'll be a tough one as well. Obviously, we have Dominic and Kerkez coming back with the disappointment of what happened with Hungary against Ireland. They'll be flat line from that disappointment and stuff like that. And then obviously looking at Robbo the other night, how brilliant was it to see Scotland qualify? But again, the post-match interview, you can see that this is a guy that mentally is struggling a little bit. And that might be a replication of what's going on with the team at the moment. And we'll talk about it during the preview. Andy Robertson making the point that he was struggling all day, thinking about the Diogo Jota and stuff like that and all. And you can see how mentally it's affecting these boys. So that extra 10, 15, 20% that you need in you is being distracted, obviously, by the passing of Diogo Jota. And it was interesting to hear Robbo talking about how he could barely even leave his room. He was just so distracted by it and stuff like that. And also, tough one. But hopefully, Scott will have the boys pumped up. We're hearing that Bradley is out as well. Allison is back. And Verts is out as well with an injury as well. So that would be a little bit concerning to see what he does at that right back position. Hopefully he doesn't throw Dominic Szoboszlai in there. Joe Gomez obviously would be available. I think Calvin Ramsey's available as well. There'll be a few players available, so maybe he should play defenders in defender positions, and we would need Dominic Szoboszlai, especially in that middle of the park against Nottingham Forest, where they are very, very good. Not to mention their back line with Morello and there, Milenkovic, very, very strong as well. But let me know about that as well. I think Liverpool 3-1 will win this one. That's how I see it going. Next up, Wolves versus Crystal Palace. Wolves having the nightmare season that you could ever have. At times have played really, really good football, but just haven't got what they deserved. And at times they were in really good positions and they coughed up some results and stuff. Palace, on the other hand, had been playing really, really well, but just, the wheels have come off a little bit since that scintillating win against us. And since then, they've been a little bit indifferent. But no doubt tomorrow could be a day where they steady the ship. I can see nothing here, only a Crystal Palace win. I know Rob Edwards has gone into Wolves and stuff like that, but he won't really have had the time that he needed, maybe to create an impression. Players off an international duty, working and training and trying to get a philosophy across against, a depleted squad and stuff like that as well. Be interesting. Ryan was in the chat on Monday and stuff like that, sounded very dejected about the situation and stuff. But we'll say new manager going in. Does he get a new manager bounce over? Has he had enough time to really create an impression? Going up against a really tough attacking side as well. Wharton and there and Hughes, and then on the wings, Tarek Mitchell and Munoz, and them take up front and stuff like that. Too much for us to handle, I think. I think Crystal Palace will win this. Half 5 is the interesting one to look at as well. Can Man City heap the pressure on Arsenal going into the North London derby? Newcastle versus Man City at St James's. Great game to have at a half 5 game on Saturday as well. Going to be a quality game. Dan Burn missing. But Manchester City in full fettle at the moment and really starting to hum and really starting to play and show that consistency that they've always had under Pep, apart from last season. But this season certainly come back to work rate of Haaland and stuff like that and all, and how he's becoming so much more that complete centre forward and stuff like that, working hard for the team, dropping in deep to pick up the play, switching the ball around, moving, bringing players into the play and stuff like that. And I think that change in Haaland was an absolute revelation this season compared to last season. And I think a lot of that is some of that link-up play with Haaland and stuff like that as well. Again, I think there'll be more pressure on Eddie Howe on this. He's had an indifferent start to the season, a lot of rumblings going out and stuff like that, a lot of talk. Volamaida had a good international break as well, played well for Germany, comes back in good form and stuff like that. But I think City might just have too much again for Newcastle, and it will heap even more pressure on Eddie Howe. I think Newcastle at the moment are down at 14th or something like that. So it's not been the season that they expected, and we did say at the time that if they did put that squad together to handle 2 to 3 games a week, they were going to have problems and stuff like that. So I think Man City will close the gap to 1 point on Arsenal and just put that little bit more pressure down in those Arsenal minds going into that North London derby. Let's move into Sunday. 2 huge games. Obviously, Leeds up first at 2 o'clock. Leeds versus Aston Villa at Ellen Road. Really, really tough one for Leeds. They've really tough games coming up. And this is a pivotal game as well. Aston Villa starting to find their feet again. Ollie Watkins getting back in there again. Buendia. And also Ollie Watkins, Buendia. Yeah. Really, really playing really, really well at the moment and stuff. Leeds on the other hand, some really good talent in there and stuff like that. Not really gelling together. Fark under a lot of pressure there at the moment. There was rumblings going around that a change might have been made in the international break, but it didn't happen. But certainly they've got a lineup of fixtures now that feels like death row. And this could signal the end of Daniel Farke. I think Red Bull will be very, very concerned about his position right down there in that relegation battle. And the thing about it is the things below them are showing form at the moment and starting to pick up results where Leeds isn't. Very, very blunt up front. Very, very difficult to know where the goals are going to come from. A lot of good build-up play, a lot of good opportunities. Certainly chances being created, but just lack that quality, that cutting-edge quality that you need in the Premier League. I think Aston Villa will run out 2-1 winners in the early game on Sunday. Then we get into the North London derby, 4:30. Arsenal versus Tottenham. Gabriel out. I think Arsenal will be okay. They should be able to better. He is their talisman. And very important to them offset pieces and stuff like that as well. Tottenham as well with a huge amount of injuries as well going into this. So this will be kind of interesting the way this goes. I can't see anything only in Arsenal win. I think Arsenal are just too strong for them. But you never know. You know, the derby sometimes could be a leveler, but Arsenal have great record in this and stuff like that and all, and they do have the better players available at the moment. I could see nothing only in Arsenal win, but how cool would it be a Spurs win or a draw in terms of that exciting title race and bringing everyone back into? Obviously, hopefully Liverpool will have won earlier in the day, the previous day, and Man City as well. So the pressure will ratchet up on Arsenal going into that North London derby, and then next up for them is Bayern Munich and then Chelsea. So we could potentially, if results went a certain way, you could see Man City being top of the league by next weekend. Do I expect it to happen? No, but certainly the opportunity might be there. And then we have a Monday night game at Old Trafford, like the old days on Sky. Manchester United entertaining Everton at Old Trafford. 8 o'clock game. Tough enough fixture to come back to after an international break, especially with a lot of players. But we've seen how good Bruno Fernandes has been for Portugal, and we've seen how good Portugal were in the end without Ronaldo. Not so good against Ireland, but certainly much, much better in the final game against Armenia. Went on an absolute tear. Everton, on the other hand, have been reasonable under David Moyes, but have seen a little bit of a drop-off. The away form would be one that's a little bit concerning. But let's see how they match up against Manchester United. This will feel like Everton will go in with that kind of physicality that they normally go in with. Certainly in the midfield with the likes of Onana and stuff like that, potentially Beto up front. And certainly the back line with Tarkowski as well. Really, really solid back line. A Pickford in goals is going to take special stuff to beat him. He's always very good in goals. I see Man United getting this over the line, but I think it would be tight. I think I'm looking at a United 2-1 win or something like that. I think it might be a draw until the latter stages, and the Stratford then would just suck that winner in for them as they've done time and time again. So Man United 2-1. That rounds up match week 12. That's my predictions for it. Let us know your predictions in the comments as well. Certainly going to be a scintillating weekend of football. A lot of jeopardy on the line here. A lot of big fixtures and a lot of big fixtures coming up as well. And as I said, don't forget to check out the Shankly sessions later on the channel as well. We will have a preview for Liverpool versus Nottingham Forest. Until next time, folks, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification button, and of course, drop a like on the video. We'll be back with you again real soon. Cheers.